And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo, TicketyBoo, everything's TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo, son. TicketyBoo.
TicketyBoo!
Welcome to TicketyBoo, the podcast with unscripted conversations from people who've actually lived it. I'm Andy Griffiths, and alongside Iona Russell and Ian Young, we're three working therapists, but more than that, we're three humans trying to make sense of life just like you. In each episode, we talk honestly about our own experiences with mental health, relationships, fear, growth, all the stuff we don't always say out loud. And we're certainly not here to fix you. We're here to make you feel a little bit less alone and maybe give you a few things to think about along the way. And in today's episode, we're asking why advice is absolutely everywhere and yet none of it feels quite right. TikTok says do this, but your gut says no, and you're left thinking, am I lost or just a little bit unconvinced? It does seem to be everywhere, doesn't it?
It does.
Yep. 100%. Do you think, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of this stuff probably does add value to people's lives, and I'm also consciously aware that we're sitting on a podcast talking about giving advice, so, be careful what I want to say. I think the problem is when, funnily enough, we were not long ago talking about ChatGPT, but when there's just nothing but advice, like TikTok is a great platform, but it's full of lots of advice, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I suppose when all this advice falls in between the lines of facts and opinions, and then you lose yourself in it. I mean, where are you guys at with it? Do you think it's a problem? Do you see it as an issue?
I see it as an issue. I think where people draw their information from different places and take it as gospel, not an opinion. An opinion can't really be wrong. It's your opinion, but people are actually pushing it as fact. And you've got so much information, so much advice that's all saying different things, and it's all conflicting. And you're taking each and every part of it as gospel. You're just getting more and more confused. So my issue with it all is, one is a load of it's just utter rubbish. But my big issue is, if I'm going to take advice from somebody, I don't just want to take it from somebody that's read one chapter more than me in the book. I want to take it from somebody that's read the whole book and then written their own.
So I'm hearing you saying you don't want to take advice from a 19-year-old in a hoodie, says a 50-year-old sat there in a hoodie, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. And it's nothing to do with age, it's just to do with life experience, and we're all taking the advice that works for us depending on our life circumstances, where we are in our life. Could be age, could be... But you're taking advice off somebody that's trying to give an opinion, and it's not specific to you, your life.
Does it become advice overdose, though?
Oh my gosh, I think it's advice fatigue, and it's constant advice, constantly feeding doubts or insecurities. Now, there are a couple of therapists I've seen on there who are brilliant. There are snippets of it, but you can't be just relying on that, because we're getting to information overload, but there's also where we believe we're forming an intimate relationship with this person. They understand me, the endless therapists, the endless mindset people, and it's a parasocial relationship where we, or anyone listening, feels that they're getting that intimacy and their needs met over forming a personal relationship within reality, quite frankly, with our friends, our families. We feel we're connected to this person. They must know what they're talking about. They're an influencer. They must know what they're talking about. They're famous for this now. It's that an illusion of intimacy and of knowing, and so therefore the advice must be right.
Do we, that word influencer just came in there. Does that mean that they're just very popular and they trend on social media, or actually people take what they say, apply it, and change their lives?
I think people do actually take it and apply it. I think a lot of people do. People that, I don't think a lot of that personally. I think, and the other thing is, it's this whole algorithm thing. So you get one piece of information, and whether it's a load of old twaddle or not, you just keep getting more and more and more of the same thing until it's an easy way to become indoctrinated with different points of view and whatever that necessarily don't fit you. But
I've got a real world example of this from a client who followed somebody on TikTok who coached or advised men on how to have better relationships with their partners. And he had a partner who he felt never really listened to him or respected his opinion. So I laugh, it's not funny. He listened to this coach, and one video was, right, if you find yourself in this situation, you feel like you're not being respected, blah, blah, blah. And he went and followed the advice, and his wife belted him. Now, and it broke the relationship.
I'm not surprised.
It completely broke the relationship. He spoke, and the way, when I said, if you don't mind me asking, what was it you did? And he told me, and I'm like, that's really bad advice. And no, I mean, I don't ever condone anyone hitting anybody, but you can kind of see, like, my God, the bizarreness of the situation and the damage that's done.
Yeah.
Because there's not a one size fits all approach to when it comes to this stuff.
No, and then what happens when you're all watching the same stuff? So, for example, the silent treatment. Now, people use withdrawing attention and withdrawing words, or they use it as a punishment, or
that's abuse, isn't it?
Well, yeah. But but one of the biggest things I'll tell you, what I believe, is give them the silent treatment, go silent on them. Well, if you've got two people doing that, what's good, because they're both watching the same stuff. You're playing along to this game that's not helping anybody, but it's actually, in reality, it's probably best to talk about it.
Yeah, the silent treatment, my gosh, that's a toxic trait as well.
Well, it's weaponising the whole situation, isn't it? It's not. To me, the silent treatment is one of the worst things you can do to somebody.
Yeah,
it's as damaging psychologically as it is somebody striking you physically. It's not good at all, because that person feels like they have to walk on eggshells, or they're afraid of what's going to come out the back of the silence, what the silence means.
But yeah, it's quite an extreme method of communication and getting you. Sometimes it might be best if you don't talk to somebody.
Funny thing is, not communicating is communicating, isn't it? It's saying something.
But these are extreme. These are fairly extreme examples on how to communicate, and a lot of the time you don't need an extreme. It's actually very damaging. Whereas a simple conversation, a simple structured conversation, would be far more useful than blanking somebody for 2 weeks.
Of course it would, yeah. When I go on TikTok and I look for life advice, it says that I need a smoothie, I need an ice bath, and I need to repeat these 14 affirmations.
Mine's normally, I need reincarnation.
I'm a bit tongue-in-cheek in the approach there. But the thing is, if you're a bit lost and you're searching, and in that moment the thing resonates with you, like you feel like that person is actually talking to you through the screen, if they tell you what to do or advise you what to do, you're more likely to follow it because you feel like you heard in that moment, don't you?
So do you think as well, we've talked about the algorithm and going down that rabbit hole, do we all think that it's also it's the constant repetition of the advice, whatever the advice is, whether it's the silent treatment, the ice baths, is it the constant repetition of it? Oh, well, this must be true. Look, all these people are saying it, but we know that that's the algorithm that's fed that.
Yeah, it's, our brains are kind of starting to interpret content as if it was meant for us.
Yeah.
And there lies the problem, and because it feels personal, but it isn't. I've actually noticed that on, I put stuff out on TikTok, and it's really interesting because you are encouraged to create content that the algorithm likes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that content is in line with what you want to do. So, for example, when I first started on TikTok, I would talk to people about methods and strategies they could do to help themselves, to better themselves, and it gets no traction. People don't want to watch that. People want to feel heard. So therefore, they want to hear people talking to them. So the content feels like it's personal. Like that person, when they created that bit of content, had them in their mind. But that person doesn't even know you.
Yeah.
That's the issue. So they're talking to me. They get me.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, the people that are making this content, what qualifies them to do it, other than, like it says, being able to make that connection? And what a lot of people are interested in is just getting as many views. They want to be an influencer. You know, they don't want to work on a building site at McDonald's. They want to be an influencer and make loads of money and drive a Lamborghini. So they're interested in hits and likes. So they'll repeat what gets hits and likes.
Yes.
But what actually qualifies them for it? Now, don't get me wrong, there's some wonderful I love podcasts. I learn lots. I really enjoy them. But they're normally from people that have got some kind of qualification or background in the area, not somebody, because we always tell our clients thoughts aren't facts.
Yeah.
But then we're going to listen to somebody else's thoughts and take them as facts.
Yeah, I think it's a real problem. You know, when the content becomes more about, it's more clickbait. It's about getting clicks and likes. And I have fell into traps. I did, you know, as a content creator on social media, to build an audience, to build authority. I have felt at a point I've lost myself a little bit in it because you're not able to connect with people. So what actually happens is you dilute yourself and start to put out content that you think that they want to hear, which is not what you would do.
No, and that's not. And I know you do this for a reason. You do because you care. You know.
Yeah.
So that's your why. So I can understand why you're feeling.
Well, I've actually backed right off on TikTok. You know, I did that 100 video challenge, and then I dropped down to 3 or 4 videos a week, and now I'm doing 1 or 2, and it's because the platform doesn't want what I've got to say.
Yeah.
Which basically says, I'm not saying I'm the oracle and I'm getting it right. I want to help people to help themselves, but it's almost like the platform doesn't want that. It wants to keep you engaged, feeling like you've been heard, that there's a friend on there. It's a cool place to hang out.
Well, and for content creators, the longer they can keep you watching, the better for them. So there's a whole bunch of different posts going around now. Please watch this because I'm raising money for whatever. Like, all I need you to do is just watch this, make a little comment, and so they're not even delivering anything. They're asking you to do this because then I'll make money and then I can feed them.
So do the platforms then become about validation on both ends? The person that's watching, but also the person that's creating the content.
Yeah. Now again, there is some great content, and great stuff out there, but if it's about somebody feeding their ego and trying to live this influencer life, it's not about actually wanting to deliver meaningful, helpful content, like you've said.
Yeah, I think there's gold in there surrounded by a sea of cack.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've got to scroll through a lot of it, but then how do you start to decipher what's gold and what's not? And as you know, on these platforms, as soon as you watch one thing, you're going to get a whole load more of it.
The same, which therefore proves that it must be right.
Yeah, well, my TikTok's great at the moment because I've got just back into vinyl music and I'm buying records and stuff. And my feed's just full of that, and I'm loving it.
Yeah,
it's not giving me advice like, oh, here's a track you've never probably heard of, and that to me that's great. I think it's when it's about life advice and decision making, which we've talked a lot on previous episodes as well about, when the advice just hits at a moment, and then you start to doubt what you already know about yourself. Yeah. I think that's the danger here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And in this generation now, where everyone wants to be seen as an expert.
But then you've got things like ChatGPT and things like that, where you can sound like you can sound dead plausible, which is what we were saying in a previous episode. You can sound dead plausible without being totally correct.
I've always, I don't know how you guys feel, I've always had a bit of an issue with the word expert. Normally because when I'm watching, like, I don't know, the news, and they bring on an expert who has an opinion. Yeah. An expert opinion. It's like I'm got a lot of expertise in therapy and training therapists, but I don't class myself as an expert. I have experience. I'm not because I think the danger is when it's an expert.
And
Well,
so-
everything they say has got to be right.
Yeah. Or depending on what field it is, they'll be, this is the way, this is the only way. Like ice baths are the only way to reset your nervous system, or my form of breath work is the only way. Like when people start declaring that, or my form of therapy is the only way, then that's toxic. And also it's different things, but for different people at different times in their life.
Have you seen all this stuff? This is how to immediately reset your vagus nerve. And the woman sat there chewing on a chocolate eclair with a cup of coffee. And you're like, no, it's not. That's not right. It's not factual.
No,
But people want that quick, fast fix.
Yeah, and then they put some information out there that makes them position themselves as an expert, because they know people will take what you say seriously. It's a manipulation and a sales tactic.
But there's the reverse as well, isn't there? What I've noticed, there's a big trend of this, and it's really bad in the therapy world at the moment. Rather than going, saying something positive, they bash what the consensus and the norm is to start off. Like,
But that's the training. It's like go and say what you hate about this, like coaching world, therapy world, like what the breath work, whatever it is, because then that's meant to be confrontational and challenging. And again, it's clickbaity.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going very much down sort of the rabbit hole of what you get on the internet. What about people drawing? What qualifies somebody to give you advice on something?
I think, for me, right, people normally out of good intention will offer an opinion or advice. I think it's easier with a person to go, nah, not feeling it, or they're not the right person for me to give that. I think when it comes to online, it tends to turn up in your world when you're least expecting it to, when you maybe are feeling a bit vulnerable, and then it just kind of pings with you and you feel motivated in that moment because you've been heard. And I think that's the problem. I think if you sat in the pub or having a coffee with a friend, they give you a bit of advice, you're just like, nah, I'm not
Well, it's conversational versus
feeling that. I don't know. That's for me anyway. I don't know if it feels the same for you, but
it's a conversational versus quite often when that ping is happening, like you're in doom scroll. So it's just going to reinforce. It's like, oh yeah, that'll work, and then instead of if you're having a conversation, you go, nah, that's not for me, and then the conversation may or may not move on, but you're in a conversation as opposed to just like absorbing everything that's being said.
For me, it depends who I'm having the conversation with. Now, obviously, I give great advice because everything I say is 100% perfect and correct.
Obviously.
So,
Louise, did you hear that?
well,
Yeah. Does she listen to the episodes?
hopefully not that bit. But again, if I'm reading, if I take advice from somebody that is where I want to be or has been through a situation that I'm in and come out the other side, generally that's how I do it. To me, that's what qualifies, not how articulately they say or passionately they say it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you hear advice or do you feel it?
That depends whether I'm actually going to do anything with that advice or not. If you feel it, you'll act on it. You can actually see yourself as part of it. It becomes part of your programming. If you just hear it, well, then it can just fall away. And that's the thing. So
The reason I ask the question is because I've had advice and sometimes afterwards I felt worse. Now, maybe it's because it's advice that I've not wanted to hear. Or other times it's just been really bad advice and it's felt off for me. And that's why I want to answer the question, do we hear advice or do we feel it?
I would say both. So for me, I'll go, oh, that feels true, even if it's uncomfortable. So it's like, oh, if I'm thinking of when I'm in conversation with a couple of my really good friends, then if they say something that's like, yeah, that feels true, or yeah, I can see why you'd think that. But again, we're in a conversation, so yeah, I feel it, but I hear it too.
So I think some of this advice that we're referring to feels like it's hijacked us.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it, actually.
Would that be
yeah, but then that sends my head down another rabbit hole, which is
Always.
If we're taking advice from people and we're almost being hijacked from them, and we're willing to take that advice and let people have that influence over us, is it more important that we surround ourselves with better people when we need that advice?
Yes.
Well, here's the thing, right? You know, I'm teaching on quite a big course at the moment, and there's people from all walks of life and all levels of experience. But I'll take it back to what we're doing in the room, which is learning to become good therapists. I've heard somebody that's relatively new offer amazing advice to somebody that's been doing it for quite a long time. And I've heard the opposite as well. So don't get me wrong, experience is good and people that are a chapter further with you, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn from people that are still on the first chapter.
Oh no, I agree. And the fact that people have done it their way doesn't mean that it's your way or the right way. Absolutely not.
There's many different ways to achieve.
Yeah.
And this is the problem about when I'm saying about where you draw your information from and what you take as gospel. Understand everything's only an opinion. And it's not gospel. And you know, it's like we will naturally take on board advice from somebody that's older, or you know, perceived as being an expert. But just because somebody's older, it doesn't mean they've got their stuff figured out, and it doesn't mean it's right. But naturally, you will, because you know you've been taught to look up to older people.
Elders, yeah.
Well, and also that person who, whether they're a chapter ahead or many chapters, are they learning the lessons, or are they just repeating the same things? So even though we may perceive they've been at this a while, they obviously know what they're doing, whether it's in person or online. Whereas actually, well, are they walking the talk? Are they doing the thing? Have they been learning the lessons, or are they just regurgitating something that's worked for them to influence or to get money or to do that? So sometimes people aren't walking the talk.
Right. Stop the bus.
Stop.
Right.
Do you want to get off?
No, you just said something there. Right. So somebody the other day asked me this question. Why should I train with you when it costs X amount of money, where this person over here is doing a 6-week mastermind course for 50 quid and they're a celebrity therapist and they've worked with all of these famous people and they're going to turn up personally and train me? And I'm like, stop and listen to what you've just said to me. This person is an international celebrity that works with famous people, but for 50 quid, they're going to put their life on hold over 6 months to come and personally train you and leave all the celebrities and their fame behind. Would you do that? And they're like, oh yeah, actually, there's a point there. And I think this is this vortex of drawing you in, of like X amount of followers, and you know, and they've worked with someone famous that was on Love Island 15 years ago that nobody can remember. And I think that's the problem. It's like all that glitters is not gold. Yeah. It's all a ruse to kind of draw you in, but it's so easy to get drawn into that vortex. And I think in that moment, we go, oh, they deal with all these people and they've done all this and they've got all this experience, rather than actually listening to ourselves and go, what do I need in this situation? Just because you work with famous people or you do all this doesn't mean you're actually any good, because half that stuff's nonsense.
Or they cherry pick
Well, they cherry pick and they show you the highlight reels and stuff like that.
And what they're telling you is it's sales and manipulation.
Yeah.
And the manipulation that goes on all the way through. When you start to understand it and you start to learn a bit about it, you see how there's a level of manipulation in whether it's sales or whatever. It's just a tool of.
Well, this is my opinion. My opinion is, if I need to tell you that I work with famous people to get you to work with me, that to me kind of says I'm sort of desperate to get you as a client.
It's making it about you and not about the service you're giving them.
I am really fortunate that I've worked with some incredibly famous and talented people,
and also signed NDAs and yes, I think you don't want to choose to work with somebody just because they're saying they've worked with all these celebrities, because, you know, anyone can say that, but that is part of the, as we've just said, the credibility piece, where people are going, oh, you must be good, you've worked with celebrities. So it can be, if you're using it in a way to go, come here, like, I have experience, look, I've worked with this person who you know, in an honest and out of integrity, or versus I've worked with these famous people over here, so therefore go and work with me. Like, there's a different energy behind both approaches, because people do believe what's written on.
We fall into the trap. Well, if they work with that celebrity, they must have been good. But the celebrity's no different to the guy or girl next door. They have the same issue. Well, same sort of issues. They're still humans.
Yeah.
I would rather talk about I work with Ian, or Iona, or this person. Because if I'm average everyday Andy, I'm going to resonate with somebody that's there, not here, And I think that's schmarketing that kind of pulls you in, smoke and mirrors.
Definitely.
And at one time I was drawn towards that, and now it repels me. I instantly turns me off, when they say, coach to the stars and work with this person and you're like, oh really, give it a rest. Just say X amount of years of experience, help thousands of people, and I'd like to help you do the same too. But at one point in life I would have been drawn in by that. And I think that's the key thing. It's, are you watching it and reacting to, oh look, they're an influencer, they've got 3 million followers or whatever, and going, well, they must be right then.
Yeah.
And it's an easy trap to fall into, isn't it? And this is absolutely everywhere, isn't it? So I think the key thing is what we're saying. Not all advice is wrong. It might not just be the right advice for you and your situation at that time. And I think if you're kind of looking for answers in everybody else, that's kind of telling you something you need to look at in yourself. Would that be fair to say?
I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to go down a bit of a rabbit hole. We talked in the last episode about having a guru in your pocket known as ChatGPT. You don't have a guru in your pocket. You just need a bit more trust in your gut instinct. And actually, if you tune out from the platforms and the advice, you'll probably find that you'll start to come to your own conclusions much simpler.
Yeah.
Less noise.
Yeah, find yourself some space.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Take yourself away from the situation.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of people, well, we all know you don't have, good quality thoughts when you're in a low place. So if you're going to go to somebody else that's in a low place and ask them for advice, and, for example, I mean, I'd never say this, but if, you go to someone and go, so-and-so did the dirty on me, I can't, this relationship, you go to someone, all women are terrible, that's how it is, because they're not in a great place, and they're coming from a place of hurt as well. It's like a downward, what
Come
you need
join
is,
my club.
So you wind up in a big pity party. Whereas actually what you want to be doing is drawing advice from somebody that's a bit more balanced and can see the bigger picture without drawing judgment from small elements of it.
I know every time I've gone looking for advice online, I was actually looking for better advice or what I deemed to be better advice or a better solution than the one that I already had. And then you would drop into analysis paralysis then, don't you? You got all these bits of advice and which one do you
There's
pick?
so much conflicting advice out there, what you should or shouldn't eat, what this is good. I mean, my son and I have this discussion a lot, and because he's really into health and fitness, and no matter what food it is, we can find good and negative advice on all of it. So we have a little laugh at it ourselves.
In my opinion, there's more advice and telling you what to do out there than there are tangible solutions. And I think that's the problem when you fall into that and you get really, really lost with it. Okay, well, as always, didn't know where the conversation was going, but it was an interesting one. Sometimes we end up down rabbit holes, sometimes we don't. But in the next episode, we are going to be talking about cyberchondria. We've all been down that rabbit hole when you Google a headache at 3 o'clock in the morning and it all goes a bit Pete-tong. As always, thanks very much for watching us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP Or, if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the TicketyBoo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.